Hi, everybody. Tom Van Hoy with Pitt State baseball coach Matt Murray on this edition of the Pitt State Baseball Insider Show. After splitting 4 MIAA games at Fort Hays State last weekend, Pitt State's scheduled to play 4 more league contests at home with Emporia State starting Friday, but because of potential bad weather, those games have been moved up. Now set to play a doubleheader on Thursday at Alorlani Field, starting at 1. The other two to be determined day, time, locations. Pitt State did split those 4 games at Fort Hays last weekend, an early start to conference play. After just 3 non-conference games, Gorillas opened losing 2 of 3 with Oklahoma Christian. Those games played at Putnam City High School. 9-4 and 8-1 losses before winning Game 3, 12-2. Lost Game 1 at Fort Hays, 6-3 on Friday. Led 3-1 to the 5th, a 3-run home run by Troy Stroffergen, but couldn't hold on. Played 2 on Saturday, won Game 1, 8-7, led 7-2. Kyle Dickens a 3-run home run in this one. Nate Arnold got the win as the Gorillas hung on. Pitt State jumped an early 5-0 lead in Game 2 of the doubleheader, but the Tigers scored the game winner in the bottom of the 9th. And then on Sunday, a good way to end a long trip with a 7-3 win. Cord Lesmeister got the win, 6 innings, allowed 2 runs. Ryan McKay the save. He went 2 1/3, 1 run, 2 hits to finish the ball game. DH Kyle Dickens hit 2 home runs and had 3 RBI in that one. So Pitt State now 3-4 overall, 2-2 in the MIAA, with Emporia State next in Pittsburgh beginning on Thursday. Here's Pitt State baseball coach Matt Murray on how his team played last weekend at Fort Hays State.
That's right, we did. We started the conference up, our 40-game conference schedule, which starts, fairly early for us, and so I'm not sure exactly if we're completely prepared yet, but we'll continue to work on that. Number one, I felt like the weather on at least on Friday and Saturday played out okay, and then on Sunday it was certainly much cooler on Sunday, and I'd say overall, I think when we look back on it, there's certain things that we can address through practice and preparation for our upcoming series with Emporia, but overall, I'd say this. Our players stayed 3 nights in a hotel, and on Sunday it was really cold, and found out quite a bit about how hard they play, and they played extremely hard on Sunday. So took that away from it. Had an opportunity to evaluate a lot of our pitching, and we were excited to get going with conference.
This early in the season, I know you probably would like to get some players into the game, and the object of the exercise is to win the game. So was this a series of 4 games where maybe you were able to get some guys in and take a look at them?
Well, certainly. I mean, this time of the year, and as you had mentioned with the 4-game series, our arms are just not ready to go more than anywhere 75 to 85 pitches, and so you would see, for example, in Game 1, I felt like our starter Tyler Thompson was rolling fairly well, and in the 5th inning, ended up giving up 4 runs there, and some of that was, Hayes doing a nice job of making adjustments, but he was also starting to get a little bit tired and leaving the ball up. Same thing in Game 2 there with, I believe it was, Nate Arnold. He did a nice job, but he ultimately ended up getting a little bit tired. In Game 3, George Brandecker, same thing. And then in Game 4, Lesmeister ended up going 6 there, our freshman, but so ultimately it goes back then to being able to reach into our bullpen and figuring out different matchups and kind of how they're going to respond in certain situations. And so we're still trying to figure that out. And having a 4-game series was certainly beneficial for us to figure those things out.
Yeah, from a pitching standpoint, sometimes people don't realize this. I mean, it is early in the season. You guys can only go 75 or 80 pitches. And sometimes the buffer before you get to the bullpen, and that all depends on if you have a guy you feel like is comfortable down there as well. You're trying to find guys that can come in and give you some innings or so, and it can even be more difficult if you don't get a number of innings out of your starter early in the year.
No, that's correct. That's correct, and which is the great thing about playing the 4 games is we do get to find out quite a bit about our back end of the bullpen and how they respond in different circumstances and different situations, different matchups, and we'll continue to figure those things out, and it'll be our job as coaching staff to evaluate and get a feel for that, but I think overall I was pleased with our pitching side of it. Still feel like we need to clean up some of our walks or hit by pitches and things like that to put us in a tough situation. But overall, I think our pitching staff grew up quite a bit, and looking forward to watching them continue to grow through the course of the season.
Well, when you take a look at Game 2 and you win that game 8-7, got off to a good start 7-2. You got a 3-run home run from Kyle Dickens. He's a guy that had a good weekend for you.
Kyle had a great weekend, and really he's just he had a tremendous early spring for us, certainly indoor. Swing functions really well, and he was just able to really focus in on hitting the right part of the baseball and shortening up his swing a little bit, and so one of those was probably a cheap one. The wind was blowing out a little bit there, but the other two, I think would get out of most parks any day, and so he certainly did a nice job, and as an entire offense, I think we had 8 runs there on 8 hits, and so to me that tells me that we were functioning pretty well offensively, which we didn't see that in the other games necessarily. We had more hits than we did runs. I'm not so sure, Tom, we didn't score. After the 5th inning up until Game 4. So I think even in Game 2 we score 8 runs, but we end up, I think the last time we had scored was maybe in the 5th inning there. So there's some things offensively that we need to continue to put our foot on the gas pedal and extend our lead if we have it, or keep pushing if we don't have it. And I thought in Game 4 we did that because we ended up scoring maybe 1 in the 7th and 2 in the 8th, or 1 in the 8th and 2 in the 9th, something like that. And that just is another component to helping out our pitching staff.
Tom Van Hoy with Pitt State baseball coach Matt Murray. His team coming off 2 wins, 2 losses at Fort Hays, and we'll get to Emporia in a minute. That has changed the schedule due to the weather. You were mentioning Nate Arnold in Game 2, and how difficult is it to pitch a game and catch a game, and has to do a number of different things for your ball club this year?
Well, that's right. I tell you, Nate being a local player from Pittsburgh, Colgan High School, he's a baseball player, and so some guys are just able to do that, and obviously we have a concern to, how's his body and arm going to hold up through the course of the spring, but we want to make sure that we do the necessary things to make sure that he stays healthy, but it's difficult to do to be a positional player and a pitcher at our level, and certainly to catch and start, and so we're going to keep a close eye on it and make sure that he holds up okay. But certainly right now he's handling it very well. And Nate is just a true baseball player and a competitor, no doubt.
Is it an advantage that he also catches in terms of calling a game? And I guess the other question here, maybe the first question should be, what kind of latitude do you give your catchers to call a game, or do you do it from the dugout?
Well, that's a good point. I think there is an advantage to that, because he caught Tyler on Game 1, and he's able to see how the hitters respond and react to different pitches and different counts, and how they're addressing the box and that type of thing. And so I think there is an advantage for him once he gets on the mound. We this year, last year is a little different, but this year we have it set up. We're comfortable with our catchers to manage the game. Now they'll look into our dugout. Our pitching coach Nick Phillips will look into the dugout after each pitch, and we can ultimately give them a pitch, and or we'll manage the run game. And picks from the dugout. But we're confident with Nate and Jacoby and Ian that that they know exactly what we're asking, and how to pitch and set up guys.
Coach, it is kind of amazing. I've been fortunate to broadcast some Clemson baseball, radio and television out in South Carolina the last 6 or 7 years, and that was the one thing that was kind of amazing to me. You see it at the highest level in Division I, the ACC, and that almost all the pitches are called from the dugout. And one of the things you talk with scouts about from that standpoint is the transition from college to pro baseball for catchers is, do they have that ability to call a game?
Well, I could certainly see that, and I think that in most cases, the coaching staff is going to help manage the game as far as controlling and calling the pitches, and or there will be a game plan set up before the game with each pitcher, and then of course in between each inning, our catcher and our pitcher will come in and visit with our pitching staff, and kind of know, hey, these are the guys that are coming up, and this is how we need to pitch, and that type of thing. So, but I could see where that transition into pro ball, would be maybe a little bit of a learning curve, but it would be the same, I think, for all players when you get into pro ball. So I think the really good catchers that have that opportunity, I bet they're able to adjust pretty quickly.
You're talking about the back end of the bullpen and your pitching staff, and I thought Ryan McKay had a good weekend for you.
Oh gosh, Tom, he did. He picked up right where he left off last spring. I thought he had a wonderful spring last year, and he still needs to. We need to still stay away from some of the walks there, and putting himself in kind of a tough situation. I tell you though, Ryan, he's kind of a low slot with a slider and a two-seamer, and but more than anything, he just wants to be on the mound. He's very, very ultra competitive, and I think that carries over well for his results. I really do.
Well, let's talk about Emporia, because it was scheduled anyway to be played a single game on Friday, a doubleheader on Saturday, and a single game on Sunday at Pitt State, continuing MIAA play. But because of the weather, that has changed. So what does it look like right now from a scheduling standpoint, and where are you by?
Well, that's right. I mean, our first 17 games, this is our home weekend. This is our 4 home games of 17. So that was a little bit discouraging to get up and check out the Weather Channel and see that we were going to be cold, because I know that our players were ready to play at home. I just know that, and so with the weather being the way it is, we within our conference, we can begin a conference series on Thursday. It would have to end on Monday, but for us, if you have a 3-day window, so once you start it, for example, if we start on Thursday, we have to complete our 4-game series by Saturday. And so right now, currently the plan is to play the front 2 at home in Pittsburgh on Thursday at 1 o'clock. And it looks like there's going to be a chance of snow, rain coming in Thursday night through Friday. So our thought right now is to look into playing south, whether that be Tulsa or Oklahoma City, somewhere a little bit further south, and finish up our series, the final 2 games down south on Saturday.
Yeah, you just kind of load everybody up in vans and everything else, you and Emporia State after Thursday, and just kind of keep driving south, right?
Well, that's a good point. That's right. I tell you what we did elect to do, and I think it's going to be beneficial for Emporia and our players, is that we determined that we were not going to play on Friday, so this will allow our players and their players to get back into class on Friday. So Emporia they'll play their 2. They'll get back home, 2.5, 3-hour drive. They'll be in class on Friday, and then they're mobile from there, along with our players. They'll get back in class on Friday, and then we'll be mobile from here. And if that means we need to travel out on Friday, stay in a hotel, or if it's near enough, we'll travel out on Saturday morning.
That's Pitt State baseball coach Matt Murray on this week's edition of the Baseball Insider Show. Again, Pitt State Emporia State, the series from Aurelani Field in Pittsburgh has been moved up because of impending bad weather. Now a doubleheader Thursday, starting at 1. We'll see what happens after that. Emporia comes in at 5-3, 2-2 in the MIAA. Split 4 conference games with Central Oklahoma last weekend as well. Opened with 2 wins at home over Southwest Minnesota State, 11-7 4-2. Then edged Missouri Western in Emporia 10-9-10 in a non-conference game, and lost in Wichita to Newman 7-6 before the Central Oklahoma series. Hornets 27-22 last year, 24-17 of the MIAA, finished 5th and made the conference postseason tournament before losing 2 straight. A tie for 4th with Missouri Southern in this year's coaches preseason poll. Pitt State number 6 in that poll as well. I'm Tom Van Hoy.